So today I'd like to take a little bit of your time to talk about resilience, entrepreneurial resilience. What happens when things go bad? How are we when failure shows up? How do we deal with those difficult situations? And I often use the analogy of, are you going to be like the oak tree in the storm or like the bamboo tree in the storm? So the oak tree, big, strong, and tall, and suddenly a lightning bolt comes and hits it, it cracks in half and falls down and doesn't get back up. Bamboo, on the other hand, same storm, also gets blown all the way down to the ground, but after the storm passes, comes back up. And so that's why a lot of bamboos look like this, and a lot of entrepreneurs also look like this. And so where do you get that resilience? Where does it come from? And so one of the things to do is to think about that there are necessarily going to be good times and there are going to be bad times. And for better or for worse, unfortunately, one of the things you have to tell yourself in both of those cases, whether it's good or whether it's bad, is the simple words, this too shall pass. Because both do pass. Nothing stays good forever and nothing stays bad forever. And if you internalize that this too shall pass, it's something that actually helps you to get out of bed in the morning when things are not going the way they ought to be going. Now, another thought on resilience, which I think is very important, is that a lot of people, when things are not going the way they want, their initial reaction is to look out into the market or out into the world and see, who can help me? And there's always going to be people out there who can help you, who will actually come to your aid. But I think that this idea of resilience being something that's inside you, that it's much more powerful to think about resilience in the sense of solve your own problems. Solve your own problems. And then you come to the point of, well, can I solve the problem? And this is a conversation that you're having with yourself. You can solve your own problems. There is no one who knows you better than you know you. And to be constantly looking and saying to someone else, to look to the outside and say, oh, the answer must be outside me, this puts you in a position of weakness, when the reality is that the answer is inside you. Now, if we take that standpoint, that the answer is inside you and you are in a position to solve your own problems, then you come to the next point, which is, do you value and do you know what it is that you're really good at? And this is a question that I ask people when I'm in interviews. This is something that I pose to students all the time. I say to them, tell me, what is it that you're really good at? What is it that you do very, very easily? And a lot of people have trouble answering this question, what is it that I'm really good at? And my answer to that is, go ask your mother. Go ask your mother or your father or someone who has known you since you were very, very little, what is it that you're really good at? Because I truly believe that each of us have a God-given gift. Each of us have something inside of ourselves that we're very good at. And interestingly, we have a tendency not to value our own assets. So if something comes very, very easily to you, you tend to say, oh, anybody can do that. So I remember that for the longest time, since I was very little, my mother told me, Andy, your greatest asset is your ability to deal with people. My response to that was, anybody can deal with people, Mom. I'm not going to get paid for dealing with people. In fact, I was wrong. And it wasn't until my first company was in real trouble when I realized I had a very difficult interpersonal situation where I had 16 different shareholders, all of whom were disgruntled for different reasons, that I finally said, you know what? I'm really good with people and I'm going to solve that problem. Now that is where this idea of valuing your own assets is so important, because what happens is, another way of saying it is, are you willing to take responsibility for what it is that you're really good at? What I mean by that is, if you're a genius in doing Excel spreadsheets, or you're a genius in making graphic design, or you're a genius in dealing with people, whatever it is, it probably comes extremely easy to you, and you're probably saying anybody can do that. When you say anybody can do that, you don't take the responsibility on for it. What you do is you let yourself off the hook. Oh, anybody can do it. I don't need to do it. Anybody can do that. Well, maybe that's not true. Maybe it's, I'm responsible. I know this is what I'm very good at, and I am going to solve that problem. And interestingly, what happens is when you don't let yourself off the hook and you stop saying anybody can do that and you do take responsibility, that's when the competition shows up. And what you see is, as good as you are doing it, you know what? There's a lot of other people that are really good at doing it. And those are the people that you want to be. Those are your peers. That's where you want to rise, where when you say, oh, now I'm in the class where I belong and I want to be in the leadership position in that class, that's what drives us. I really believe that people are inherently driven, and this is what resilience is about. People are driven by what they can do. So it's so important to get in touch very deeply with what it is you can do, and to concentrate on that, to be responsible for it, and then to go out and do it. And usually it is a drive inside you to achieve your natural gifts. What a lot of us do is we say, well, I have defective parts and I have to go and take care of all those defective parts. I think it's much better to concentrate on what you're very good at and replace your defective parts by somebody who is also very good at that. And that brings me to my last point about resilience, which is partnership. So it's not about doing it all alone. It is about solving your own problems, about being responsible for your own problems, but it's not about going it alone. It is important to have partners around you. It's just the question, how do you find the right partner? And the right partner is usually someone who has a bigger vision for you than you even have for yourself. So my wife is a brilliant filmmaker and a great screenwriter. Her films have been produced, but her plays have not been put on yet as screenplays. And so in the moments when she's feeling like, why haven't they been produced? My answer to her is, stop worrying about it, stop whining about it. You're a great screenwriter. Just go on and keep doing. It'll happen. And that's what I want in those moments when I feel like I can't do it and I don't think I'm the right person and I am seeing things really black. What I want is, I want someone who's going to say, listen, stop being a complaining clod of ailments, as George Bernard Shaw says, and get out and go do it. This is who you are. This is what you're good at. This is who I know you can be. Now go be that person. And so this inner resilience, combined together with having people around you who understand and value and respect your own inside natural gifts, this is what leads to resilience over the long run in entrepreneurship. So another important concept that goes well with the topic of resilience is the concept of the Trojan Horse. Now we all know the Trojan Horse and the story behind it. Perhaps in a business context, another way of saying the Trojan Horse is use everything to your advantage. So a lot of people, especially when I deal with younger people, come to me and they say, you know, I can't get into this account because I'm still a student, or they don't want to deal with people who are not so experienced. Now the other side of that is, you know, if you are a student or if you are inexperienced, there are a lot of people out there who what they really like to do is they like to help students. And they would help you as a student where once you were out in the market, they would never consider helping you again. Or they like to help people who are at the beginning of their career. I personally run an entrepreneurship center, run a lot of different accelerators. What moves me, what gets me up in the morning is helping people getting started, helping people who are at a very early stage. So part of your job is to actually go find those people, but to look at your situation that you have, not as a terrible problem that you're a student, or not as a terrible problem that you don't have any money or that you don't have enough experience, but as an asset to you, which is going to allow somebody else to come and contribute. because that's what people really want to do. They want to make a contribution, and it's potentially your lack of something that opens the door for somebody to come in and fill that piece. Now, the last thing that I'd like to talk about regarding resiliency is the concept of sustainability. To make it very simple, I have two rules, the first rule of which doesn't sound good unless you have the second rule. So the first rule is take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Now the second rule is take care of yourself so that you can take care of others. Take care of yourself sounds very selfish. On the other hand, I like to use the analogy of when we're sitting in the airplane. Every time before the flight, the same announcement comes on. And what do they say? They say that in case of emergency, the mask will drop down. When the mask comes down, put the mask on your mouth first and then turn to help people next to you. And the point is, you're not going to be a big help to anyone if you're not around. If you can't breathe yourself, it's very difficult to help someone else. So there is this innate sense of selfishness that one needs to have. That is this resilience to say, I am going to take care of myself first. I am going to put my necessities first. As soon as I have those in place, the very next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to help other people. I'm going to make things better. I'm going to push to the next level. But if I can't breathe, if I don't have enough funds, if I don't have enough people to run this business, how am I ever going to be successful? So that resiliency also has to be coupled with a certain sense of self-preservation and self-survival, which is essential, and people are looking to see whether or not you have that resilience to decide whether or not they want to be your partner.